Hi, this is Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and you're listening to No BS Hiring Advice Radio, or watching it as a Google Hangout at, well, Hangouts on Air. So I'd like to spend 15 minutes on a Wednesday at around noon speaking with you about some aspect of recruiting, hiring, something to support you as an HR professional be more effective in your work. I believe that hiring doesn't have to be so hard, difficult, painful, or take so long. It's just, my experience tells me that there are systems in place that are cumbersome, that make it harder for you to accomplish what you're setting out to do, which is hire superior talent. So I'd like to spend a little bit of time talking with you about different aspects of hiring, recruiting, whether you're an HR professional, a hiring manager, small business owner. I'm trying to address your needs on this show. Today's show is brought to you by consultingassignments.com, a site where you can find and fill consulting assignments, full-time consulting positions, temp to perm, and contract hire opportunities anywhere in the world completely free. Posting a job or a resume is free. Searching jobs and resumes is also free. The ability to contact one another is free. Excuse me. The only thing the site's going to charge for is if you're going to feature a job or a resume. Get this, $10 for 30 days. And they'll take the price down even lower if you're going to feature more positions. So again, consultingassignments.com. The second sponsor is Audible. Now, if you go to audibletrial.com/the big game hunter and sign up for a free trial, they'll provide you with a free audiobook. And this is a service with 150,000 titles available, loads of different fields covered, as obviously things that would be your personal interest would be covered. It'll run on any device. There are apps for it as well. Cross-platform work. It's a nice product. So again, go exploring at audibletrial.com/the big game hunter. So this is my second show about recruiters. And the trigger to these last two shows is an article I wrote for LinkedIn called Why People Hate Third-Party Recruiters. Job hunters have complaints about us. Companies obviously have complaints about us and our behavior. So I've been trying to address some of the issues that people have, and I want to offer some simple suggestions for how to get better results from third-party recruiters. Now, the first one's an obvious one, but I want to preface it a little bit. I was listening to an interview on Freakonomics with a guy who heads up Ogilvy and Mather in the UK. And without going through the entire storyline, there was a point where he talked about interviewing for honesty. And he commented that in a questionnaire that they provided people, those who self-identified themselves as being honest generally weren't as honest as they thought they were. And those who were probably most dishonest did great in sales. Now, I'm not suggesting that you try and screen recruiters for dishonesty, but just recognize that you have to use a finely tuned BS detector as you listen to some of these folks that are contacting you about doing work for you. I used to sit next to someone who would talk about having 15 years of experience and looking like Cameron Diaz, and she had about 3 years of experience and was a brunette. Looked nothing like Cameron Diaz, except she was female. So you have to recognize that there's a certain amount of flim-flam, to use that old-time phrase, that recruiters use to try and get your trust. One of the simplest places to check them out, check their LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn is going to reveal certain things about them. Are they a job hopper? Are they someone who's moved around a lot? Now, you may not think this is important, but to me it suggests something. They haven't been successful in a lot of places. So understand the person who spends 6 months here, 3 months there, 9 months there, they're not real good. They may have been supporting someone else's work, got fired when they didn't deliver enough quality candidates to people for these jobs, and thus they had to go off somewhere else because they really want to try doing recruiting. So just recognize that there's some BS in there that people are going to try giving you. Again, using that 15-year nonsense that used to be handed out. Um, think of it this way. You go to their LinkedIn profile, which tends to be more honest for some reason. Like liars don't think of lying there. They think of lying in the conversation, but they don't lie on their LinkedIn profile. So look for the lies on their LinkedIn profile. Also, don't use the brand of their firm as being a gateway for why you should use them. I'll tell you a story that has nothing to do with recruiting. Years ago, I was in litigation. I was living in New York. I got into litigation with the owners of the building I was renting an apartment in. I did nothing wrong. If anything, I bent over backwards for them. One of the owners wanted to have an extension to his apartment built on the roof of the building. I had roof rights. I was the only tenant that did. And he needed about 6 feet across from me. I had no problem with that. I said, one stipulation. I don't want a window overlooking my property because I had a deck up there. I wanted to have privacy. I didn't want to have someone watching what I was doing. One day, there's a window being framed out. I demanded they stop since they were on my property, and we wound up in a lawsuit. Now, here's where I want to get to the point. The point is, they hired the best landlord attorney in New York. I hired the best tenant attorney in New York. But they got the junior staff. I got the guy whose name was on the door. Do you think my guy was better than theirs? By far. We killed them. Now, yes, I had a good case, but at the end of the day, part of it was I had a responsive attorney who hated my building owners from a previous experience and wanted to destroy them. I wound up with a lot of money from that as a renter in New York by having the guy whose name was on the door. Now, you may have the junior guy who doesn't really have a lot of experience, the young beginning woman recruiter who has been bouncing from place to place. You got to look these things up to get a sense of who you're getting when you're hiring this firm to do work for you. Next, I want to suggest a couple of things. One is if this is a new requirement and you're scheduling, you want to talk with recruiters about the job, I want to suggest scheduling a joint call with all of them and the hiring manager. And the reason is you want to have that manager talk about what they're looking for. Because, hey, you and I both know job descriptions have limited applicability. They have a lot of stuff in there, but they don't really prioritize. Yes, I know it says requirements and there are other things that say pluses, but I must, in all honesty, tell you, if your firm follows that rule, you are unusual. Because most of the time when I'm on these calls or I'm talking to a hiring manager, they're telling me something nuanced difference or very different than what's in that job description. So get all the recruiters on a phone call with the hiring manager where they can ask questions. Have he or she talk about the job and what they're looking for in a person, what skills are being sought, what background, who their last hire was in this kind of job. You don't have to have 5 individual calls. Just schedule one call for 30 minutes tops with however many recruiters are going to be on this call. You're going to give this assignment to, and you'll notice some things about those recruiters on that call too, to get a sense of competence. Like, there's a firm I do work with that works with calls like this, and there's a primary account manager, and often it's the junior who's on the phone representing their firm. And you could tell by the questions that are being asked, it's the basic junior recruiter playbook. What are the 3 most important things this person needs to know? What are the 3 most important things this person needs to have done? And it makes me crazy listening to them because they don't even know what's behind that question. So yes, I want to know about what's important, but the thing I want to know about is how do you measure that? How do you determine that? Am I just, if you listen to these folks talk on the phone and all they're really looking for is a phrase for a keyword search, they're not going to be really able to evaluate any more than your computer can do it. You can be doing this and saving a lot of money. But I want to point out something that another one of my clients is doing very well. They've got a series of tough searches around the country. And I don't want to go into the details of it. I'll just simply say, trust me, it's tough searches. They don't hire a lot of people. When they do, they have to meet very stringent requirements. And what they do, and they just started doing it with me because I insisted that they do it. I asked for a number of screening questions to work with and answers. Now, first person I administered the questions to, I made a mistake. I confess, I made a mistake. And this individual turned around, went on Wikipedia, and provided answers. They caught it, let me know about that. I told the applicant he was an idiot, and obviously they're not seeing him. So I'm now administering these by phone. I had other clients that wanted me to do this in written form before, but this guy was abusive. Taking the information and just going online to get answers and not changing a word is pretty stupid, wouldn't you agree? So providing a recruiter with screening Q&A, and I just want you to remember this, if you're fearful that they're going to give people the answers, well, they're the wrong recruiter for you to be working with, because if you can't trust this person, you shouldn't be working with them. And if you find too many inconsistencies where people don't know what they answered the question perfectly for at the time the recruiter presented them, the recruiter is lying to you and trying to cheat you. So again, screening questions to work with people. Finally, this is the final point. So just to make it clear, I've spoken about experience, checking the experience to make sure you've been told the truth about them. I've talked to you about having joint calls with your hiring managers and recruiters to tell them exactly what's being looked for beyond the job description. And lastly, I suggested screening questions that will allow them to evaluate people and thus save everyone a lot of time. Here's the last point I want to make. When you start measuring results, and I come back to an episode I had recently with a firm that was telling me I was having trouble producing people for them. I said to them, let's go beyond just numbers. Let's take a look at some facts beyond that and talk to them about how long it was taking them to respond. And the impact was that these talented people were getting into play at other firms and then didn't want to go on interviews because they were about to get an offer. Take action promptly. I'm not suggesting that you rush through your process, but start the ball rolling quickly, because these are good markets. You're competing for talent. Good people are getting picked up quickly, so don't waste time. So I hope you find this helpful. I also want to encourage you, come over to my website, which is thebiggamehunter.us. Click the tab that says No BS Hiring Advice. I've got more information there that will help you find people, help you do an even better job of recruiting, staffing, hiring, whether you're an HR person, hiring manager, or a small business owner. You can also subscribe to this show on iTunes. Again, No BS Hiring Advice Radio. Hope you leave a favorable review of the show. It helps people discover the show, helps ratings, helps other folks. So again, No BS Hiring Advice Radio in iTunes. Few final points. First of all, if you are trying to hire someone, send me an email at jeffaltman@thebiggamehunter.us. I'd love to help you firm staff positions. If we're not already connected on LinkedIn, send me a connection request. My address is linkedin.com/in/thebiggamehunter. I accept connection requests from people worldwide, except if you look like a scammer or spammer, except if you're a third-party recruiter. I have no problem answering questions. If you look at my LinkedIn profile, I really do have over 40 years of recruiting experience. I filled, I'm an 1199 on the positions I filled. So I'd love to help your firm hire people. I'm Jeff Altman. Have a great day. Take care.